Well, some major updates have emerged from the U.S. war chart leak incident. The Atlantic magazine, whose editor-in-chief was mistakenly added to a Signal group chart, has made public all details of the chart. He made public all the details 2 hours ago. Atlantic has said that they are posting the charts after statements from senior leaders and intel chiefs who all said in unison that there was no classified information in the chart. The magazine there declared that they are releasing the chart group communication in public interest. Let's now take a look at the timeline of the events. There are several messages exchanged in the group during which time the Atlantic editor-in-chief was already added to the chart. As is visible from the screenshots of the chart, there are 19 members in the group. Jeffrey Goldberg was added by NSA Mike Waltz. The setting of the group can be seen as disappearing messages time set for 1 week. Then we see the first message by Waltz after Goldberg was added to the group. The message says that the group has been established to coordinate on the Houthis for the next 72 hours. And this is where things sort of get interesting. After a chat on other administrative issues and political messaging, there is a text from U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. The timing of the text is 11:44 a.m. Eastern Time. Hegseth sends a long message of what the strike plan is going to be. Take note of the timing. I'll just leave you for a second to look at your screen and look at the timing and look at the texts. The text is sent out 2 hours before the first strike on Houthis happens and 31 minutes before the first U.S. warplanes were launched. Now the text reads, and I want you to follow the screen, weather is favorable. Hegseth confirms the mission is a go. Then the text says that at 12:15 Eastern Time, the F-18s launch. At 13:45 Eastern Time, that is afternoon local time, the F-18 carries out first strike. More details are shared about the second strike that is supposed to take place, which is at 15:36 Eastern Time. In the end of this text, Hegseth says that more is to follow per the timeline. The U.S. Defense Secretary ends the message with Godspeed to our warriors, and I hope you've been following the text on your screen. Now, before the chart was published, the Trump administration has been working hard to contain the flak and fallout from the incident. On Tuesday, Trump and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz spoke to the media to address the war chart leak involving a senior journalist and some of the senior-most lawmakers in the American cabinet. Donald Trump said that information shared on Messenger application Signal was not classified.
The attack was totally successful. It was, I guess, from what I understand, took place during, and it wasn't classified information. So this was not classified. Now, if it's classified information, it's probably a little bit different. But I always say you have to learn from every experience. I think it was very unfair the way they attacked Michael. He's a good person. The person that was on just happens to be a sleazebag. So maybe that's just coincidence. I don't know.
Michael, on his part, took responsibility for what he himself called an embarrassing incident. However, the National Security Advisor had an explanation on how this mistake might have happened. Now, listening to his remarks during an interview.
Look, I take full responsibility. I built the group. My job is to make sure everything's coordinated.
But how did that number? I mean, I don't mean to be pedantic here, but how did the number?
Have you ever had somebody's contact that shows their name, and then you have somebody else's number there?
I never make those mistakes.
Right? You got somebody else's number on someone else's contact. So of course I didn't see this loser in the group.
Mr. Waltz says agencies are investigating the incident. However, questions are being raised by congressional lawmakers during the ongoing Intelligence Committee meetings that have overlapped with this scandal. On Tuesday, senators grilled Intel heads Tulsi Gabbard and John Ratcliffe on the lapse. Both the CIA director and director of national intelligence maintained that no classified information was released on the chat group. A similar line of questioning has begun from the House of Representatives committee. The session is already underway, and to remind our viewers of the details of the alleged Intel leak, on Monday, editor-in-chief of the Atlantic magazine published an article about how he was added to a chat group on messenger app Signal. Jeffrey Goldberg was added to a group called Houthi PC Small Group. The journalist says Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth shared classified information about U.S. strikes on Yemen's Houthi group. The chat included several high-profile leaders, including Vice President J.D. Vance, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles. The war chart leak has taken not just American lawmakers but other nations by storm, too. While the Trump administration downplays the incident, countries that are part of the Five Eyes intelligence alliance have reacted to the incident. Canada has said the nation needs to, and I quote, look out for themselves. Prime Minister Mark Carney says that while mistakes do happen, the important part was how people react to those mistakes and how they tighten them up. UK, another member of the alliance, had a more cautious response. Prime Minister Keir Starmer's spokesperson praised the close relationship with the US, particularly on defense and security, adding, and I quote, we expect that relationship to continue. UK's Armed Forces Minister Luke Pollard told parliamentary panel that no British service personnel had been put at risk as a result. Canada and the UK are members of the Five Eyes intelligence sharing network alongside Australia, New Zealand and the US. The leak is likely to put further strain on the group as it weighs how seriously the current American administration takes the handling of top secret information. Adele Nazarian is a senior media fellow, Gold Institute for International Strategy. She is now joining us live from DC. Good to see you, Adele, and welcome. U.S. intel official says that Russia and China could have interfered with the information shared on the chat group. It shows the severity of this issue. Both Republicans and Democrats say that a thorough investigation should be done. What should be included in the probe to make it look authentic and transparent?
Well, I think that taking actual screenshots is a way of definitely making it authentic and transparent. But there is definitely no doubt that this will be used by Democrats to basically put blame on the Trump administration and Republicans in general and try to position them as being unfit to maintain the national security efforts of the United States. But I think the authenticity of this definitely will depend on them using actual evidence screenshots. We know with the advent of AI, things can be altered, and that's probably one of the most certain ways of indicating its authenticity.
Mm-hmm. Mademoiselle, let me ask you this. U.S. intel officials are still being grilled by the Senate. Mike Waltz has taken responsibility. Speaker Mike Johnson says nobody needs to be fired over such a mistake. If we are talking about taking responsibility and showing the American public that this will never happen again, how should President Donald Trump react to this whole drama?
I think he's already made a statement saying that, look, it's only 2 months in and it's only been one leak, which is very tongue-in-cheek, I have to say. But frankly speaking, of course, you have no administration is perfect. There's definitely an increased level of scrutiny that's been placed on the Trump administration. I think that Donald Trump is called Teflon Don for a reason. He's unbreakable, unshakable. And I think that the way he's handling it is very much as the Democrats would handle it, and I think even with more power, because I think Democrats may have even caved under enough pressure, although they tend to not. And I think that Donald Trump is doing a really good job in terms of just, it's a mistake, it happened. Of course, it's could be potentially a big issue. Could have been if more information was leaked, but keep calm and carry on, move forward. There's a lot of work that has to be done, and spending too much time on this, learn from your mistake and move on.
If you say we move on just very quickly, Adele, very quickly, should somebody be fired?
I happen to think that it may have not been a staffer from Mike Wald's administration. I think this have been a fall person. Look, frankly speaking, in a case like this, yes, someone will end up being the fall person, even if they weren't even the person at fault, frankly. But I think someone, for the public perception, would in a normal circumstance be fired. In the case of the Trump administration, though, and considering how many lies were lobbed against him, this happens to be one reality. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually don't fire anyone, if they just double and triple down and admit to their mistake and say it won't happen again and end up keeping everyone in place.
Okay.
So.
Okay, all right. Enough said. Adele Nazarian, good to see you. Thank you very much for talking to us today.
You too. Thank you so much.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.